Today, I'm turning a tired old backyard into a warm, functional garden, using local materials, native plants, and a few simple tricks that make a huge difference. I'm in Northcote again, working in a small back garden that, like much of this suburb, has more going on beneath the surface than you'd think. This area might be known now for its cafes and bars, but it was built on quarries, brickworks, and factories. Just up the road, old clay and bluestone pits help build Melbourne. So it's no surprise that when I start digging here, I don't just find soil. There's a shady corner here that's perfect for sitting out with a coffee during Melbourne's summer heat, but it's overgrown right now. I'm going to start by cutting back a few things and transplanting the oleander to open it up and make a proper usable space. Later, I'll also be adding some toppings here. I'm going to dig out this patchy lawn area where the new paving will go. In a small garden, a strip of struggling grass doesn't make much sense. Turning it into a proper paved zone instantly gives you a space for a table, a seat, or just a clean path through the garden. The grass has never done well here. It looks okay now, but after a few weeks of hot summer sun, it quickly dries out and dies off. As I dig down, I can feel the shovel hit something solid. And it's not just compacted soil. It feels a lot like concrete. I didn't bring the jackhammer with me, so this could slow things down a bit. It's certainly solid, but on closer inspection, it's not concrete at all. It's something much nicer and more valuable. There's a line of buried bluestone blocks running under the lawn, which explains why the grass has never really taken off here. It's been sitting on a stone lid rather than reaching down into deep soil. These bluestone blocks are a great find. They're worth good money, and even more valuable in terms of character, so I'm lifting them out carefully and putting them aside to reuse later in the garden. I've spotted a few of these little guys under the bluestone. Mole crickets. They love hiding under stones and turf, munching on grass roots and tunneling through the soil, which is another reason this lawn never stood a chance. They're common in Melbourne gardens, especially in heavier clay soils, and although native, they're considered a significant garden pest. They make a surprisingly loud chirping noise at night to attract mates, which is why you sometimes hear them buzzing from under lawns in Melbourne summers. I'm not too sure what would have made this hole, but it goes down a long way. I'm certainly not going to be putting my hand down there to find out. This is tiger snake territory, and although they don't dig themselves, they like to live in holes like this. I'm still finding buried bluestone blocks. All up now, I've uncovered around 35 pieces. Plenty to use around the garden for retaining borders and detail. These are going to add real weight and character once they're repositioned above ground. A big basalt plain runs right across Melbourne's north and west, which is why bluestone ended up in so many lanes, gutters, foundations and garden edges around here. In the 19th century, quarries in the northern suburbs were sending stone into the city for everything from churches and town halls to prisons and warehouses. At the same time, Northcote was becoming a brick-making hub. In the 1860s, a publican at the Carter's Arms Hotel in Separation Street realised the clay in his backyard was perfect for bricks, and that discovery led to the Northcote brickworks. By the 1870s, it was pumping out up to a couple of million bricks a year. This success led to a rival brick company opening up in the area, which was imaginatively named New Northcote Brick Company. For years, the two companies competed, turning out bricks that still turn up today in old walls, fences, and even buried rubble. So when a shovel in a garden around here suddenly hits bluestone or old clay brick, it's not just random rubble. It's a little leftover piece of that industrial past, finding its way back into a new garden. With the bluestone out, I can now get the levels right and start preparing the base for the paving. There are no drains or pipes to tap into here, so drainage is a bit of an issue. The aim is to build a surface that stays solid, but also lets water seep through. To do this, I'm going to be putting down a compacted layer of crushed rock for strength, then a thin layer of sand on top, so the old red bricks can be laid on a bed that drains rather than traps water. I'm still going to slope it away from the brick wall to avoid any potential issues down the track. By setting up these string lines at the level of the final brick height, I can check to see if I've removed enough soil to allow for the bricks, base, and sand layer. As it's only foot traffic in this area, around 70 millimeters will be enough for the base. The roller door is about 5 centimeters too low to fit my truck in, so it looks like the rock will have to take the scenic route. Crushed rock is a compactable material made from broken down stone, usually basalt or granite. It's commonly used under paving, pathways or driveways to create a strong, stable base that drains well and resists movement. Recycled crushed concrete is another great option for the same job. It's made from reused building materials, which makes it both sustainable and affordable. And when compacted, it forms a really solid, stable base. The only drawback is that it's not always easy to find, and the quality can vary, but if you can get your hands on some, it's well worth using. Back in the garden, I'm reintroducing the bluestone, but this time above ground where it can actually do some good. In this shady corner, which is a perfect spot to sit in summer, I dug out a lot of soil. Now the garden beds need to be retained. I'm using the bluestone blocks as a low retaining edge, holding the soil back and giving the bed a clear, strong line. It adds weight and texture and immediately makes the space feel more deliberate, like a small outdoor room rather than just a leftover corner. For our paving, I'll be setting the bricks on washed sand. I want a row to finish neatly on the corner of the deck. To make sure this happens, I'm marking where each row should start. I'm also using a run of bluestone as a border between the brick paving and the brick wall. Bluestone and brick always work beautifully together. The cool blue-grey stone against the warm red bricks gives you an instant contrast in colour and texture. That shift in material stops the eye from reading it as one big mass of brick and gives the space a layered, crafted feel, which is particularly important in a small garden where every edge is on show. I'm also leaving a gap with one bluestone block out, where the Boston ivy is growing. One of the benefits of paving on sand here is that rainwater can still drain through, so the plant will keep getting the moisture it needs to survive. There's only a really thin layer of sand here, around 5 millimeters thick. The bricks I'm using are a real mixed batch from at least 10 different local brands, all made around this area 80 to 100 years ago. They vary in size and shape, and that thin sand layer lets me fine-tune the final height so everything ends up perfectly flat. As the old red bricks go down, the whole area starts to read as a proper, usable space. No more wasted strip of struggling grass. Instead, you've got paving that works for the garden, a spot for chairs, a firm base for pots, or just a welcoming zone that pulls the garden together. While I'm laying these bricks, it's hard not to think about how Northcote went from the edge of town to a bit of a boomtown. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, this whole area was buzzing with brickworks, quarries, and small factories, with the air full of brick dust, coal smoke, and the sound of carts heading up and down High Street. Back then, a lot of the people who made these bricks would have walked home to simple workers' cottages, not far from where I'm standing now. Pay wasn't great, hours were long, but evenings meant heading to pubs like the Peacock Inn, the oldest hotel in the area, or the Carter's Arms. There was footy on the weekends, picture theatres along High Street, and the bustle of the old markets. Northcote also had its share of drama. This section, near Merry Creek, would regularly flood badly, like in 1911 when High Street literally turned into a canal, washing mud right up to shop fronts and into houses. Over time, drains improved, creeks cleaned up, and the old brick pits and tips became parks and plazas. But under backyards like this, you still find berry blue stone and broken brick from those days. So, when I dig up a bluestone block or lay these old reds, it feels like tapping back into that history. Instead of landfill, they get another life. This time as part of a quiet little courtyard, not a factory floor or a flooded street. I'm cutting in the bricks now, dealing with all the little edges and corners. In a small garden like this, every cut needs to be precise to keep the lines looking sharp. So I saved the broken or damaged bricks specifically for those cuts. No need to waste a good full brick on something that's just going to get trimmed down anyway. For the actual cutting, I'm using a small battery-powered masonry saw. It's a lot more convenient than lugging around a 90-kilo brick saw, especially in tight backyards like this. The battery saw is lighter, quicker to set up, and does a neat job on these old reds, which keeps the work flowing and the lines looking clean. In between the bricks, I'm sweeping in some very coarse washed sand. It's basically small rocks mixed with finer sand, which packs down solid and doesn't instantly wash out like fine sand would. After I've installed the concrete edge which holds the paving together, I'll pack it all down with a 6mm mortar smoothing tool. To finish off this edge of the paving, I'm keeping things consistent by using a few more of our bluestone blocks. They separate the paving and the garden bed nicely. I'm also using a couple to stop the soil from sitting against the timber decking. I'm mixing up a bit of concrete to put around the paving. This won't be visible, but is an important step to lock all the paving together and prevent the edges from sliding away. For the concrete mix, I use 3 parts rock, 2 parts sand, and 1 part cement. Once it is set, I'm going to grab the 6mm mortar tool and really pack the sand down hard into all the joints. I like to do this at least 2 or 3 times to really make sure there are no air gaps that the sand can sink into after the first rain. I'm placing the last of our bluestone blocks in this garden bed. They're going to act as a landing pad for when the kids jump in and out of the car. I'm not going to mortar them in though. They're solid enough not to need it, and it gives the option of moving them around again in the future. The soil here is okay, but it definitely needs a bit of a boost, so there's actually something nutritious for the new roots to grow into. This is the sort of simple job that makes a huge difference. Compost adds organic matter that improves soil structure, helping it retain water and drain better to prevent root rot, while boosting nutrient levels naturally. As microbes break it down for the plants to absorb, it really enhances fertility over time for healthier growth in tough Aussie conditions. And now the fun part, the plants. I love plants. They bring life, colour, and texture to any space, transforming a simple garden into a thriving ecosystem. I've always been passionate about them, which is why I studied horticulture to learn about plant biology, soil health, and sustainable techniques. It's also the reason I chose to move away from the city and out into the Aussie bush. Here I'm planting viola, a beautiful native violet with delicate purple and white flowers that add a lovely touch of interest and sparkle throughout the year. These little beauties will gradually knit together into a soft green carpet, spreading gently without being invasive, perfect for filling gaps and softening edges in the garden bed. On the other side of the path, I'm planting dichondra as a low, soft ground cover. Using these low ground covers keeps the area feeling large, rather than taller plants that would make it feel small. And, because this spot might get the odd shortcut from kids heading to the car, dichondra handles a bit of trampling without sulking. Both plants will spread and eventually cover the soil, creating a continuous sea of green that ties the beds together and reduces weeding. I'm laying granitic sand through the shady sitting area. It compacts into a firm but slightly forgiving surface that feels good underfoot and suits casual furniture or a simple bench. Once it's spread, I compact it thoroughly for a stable surface that won't turn to dust but drains well in downpours. It's a budget-friendly gem that looks effortlessly natural in the garden. What I also love about granitic sand is that because it's permeable, you can plant directly into it, making it perfect for grasses or similar tough plants that establish roots easily while keeping the surface stable and low maintenance. Now that all the plants, toppings and hardscaping are done, the final step is mulching. There are lots of options when it comes to mulch, some far better than others. I like to use eucalyptus mulch. Eucalyptus mulch comes from the eucalyptus tree, primarily Eucalyptus globulus, native to Southeast Australia. This organic mulch has a natural earthy brown tone and is a fine gum tree mulch without any leaf matter, offering a refined, neat appearance that's perfect for gardens. Once the planting's in, I mulch the beds to lock in moisture, protect the soil from summer heat, and keep maintenance low. Even while the plants are small, the mulch gives the garden a finished look that will only improve as everything fills out. It also contributes to plant growth, with its rich nutrient content, suppressing weeds while improving soil health over time. Standing back, this little Northkick garden now feels like it fits the suburb's history. In a small garden, every decision counts, and when every part of the space does a job, you end up with a garden that's not just tidier, but genuinely richer for the next chapter of its life. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.